The first unusual signs appeared on a Tuesday morning. Strange objects appeared in Earth's orbit, visible only through the most powerful telescopes. Major William Bill Harris stared at the monitor in NASA's control room, his coffee growing, cold in his hand. "Are we sure these aren't just satellites?" he asked, leaning forward to get a better look. Dr. Gregory Parker shook his head. No known satellites match these signatures. They appeared suddenly, all 7 of them, positioned strategically around the planet. Bill set down his coffee cup. As a former Air Force pilot with 20 years of experience, he had seen many strange things in the sky, but nothing like this. "Have we tried communicating with them?" "Every frequency." "Nothing yet," Dr. Parker replied. The news of the mysterious objects spread quickly despite government attempts to keep it quiet. Within hours, social media was flooded with theories and grainy photos. Some people panicked, while others celebrated what they believed was first contact with alien life. 3 days later, every screen on Earth turned on at exactly the same time. TVs, phones, computers, billboards, all showed the same image. A humanoid figure with gray-blue skin, large eyes, and a small mouth. The being spoke in perfect English. "People of Earth, we are the Vorsidians. We come in peace and friendship from a star system you call Epsilon Eridani. We have watched your civilization grow and believe the time has come for our peoples to meet. We bring gifts of knowledge and technology." Dr. Olivia Martinez watched the broadcast from her laboratory at the University of California. As one of the world's top xenobiologists, though until now her field had been purely theoretical, she knew her life was about to change. Her phone rang almost immediately. "Dr. Martinez, this is General Frank Lewis from the Joint Chiefs. We need you. In Washington now." 24 hours later, Olivia found herself in an underground facility with 50 other scientists, military personnel, and government officials. They were analyzing every aspect of the alien transmission. "The language patterns suggest they've been studying us for decades," Olivia explained to the group. "Their understanding of human speech is too perfect to be recent." General Lewis nodded. "What about their biology? What can you tell from the images?" "They appear to breathe oxygen, like us. Their body structure suggests similar gravity on their home world. Beyond that, I'd need more data." A week passed with daily messages from the Vorsidians. They shared basic scientific knowledge, nothing Earth scientists didn't already know, but enough to show they were advanced. Finally, they requested a meeting with Earth representatives aboard their main ship. Ambassador Karen Nelson led the delegation. A seasoned diplomat with gray hair and a calm demeanor, she had negotiated peace treaties in some of Earth's most dangerous conflict zones. Bill Harris was selected as the military representative, and Olivia Martinez as the scientific advisor. 5 others, including translators and communication specialists, completed the team. The shuttle ride to the Vorsidian mothership was tense but exciting. Through the windows, they saw a massive vessel at least a mile long, with a smooth silver surface that seemed to shimmer. "Remember," Ambassador Nelson told the team, "this is a historic moment for humanity. Be respectful but cautious. We represent all of Earth today." The docking procedure went smoothly. When the doors opened, 3 Vorsidians greeted them. In person, they stood nearly 7 feet tall, with slender limbs and an unusual grace to their movements. "Welcome, humans," said the one in the center, who introduced himself as High Commander Zorn. "We are honored by your visit." The Earth delegation followed the aliens into a large circular room with walls that seemed to glow with a soft blue light. The air smelled slightly sweet, like cinnamon. "Your planet is beautiful," Zorn said. "We have visited many worlds, but few with such diverse life and landscapes." Ambassador Nelson smiled diplomatically. "We are eager to learn about your civilization as well. How many worlds have you visited?" "Many," Zorn replied, his large eyes blinking slowly. "Our people have explored the stars for thousands of your years." The meeting continued pleasantly for 2 hours. The Vorsidians offered to share medical knowledge that could cure several human diseases. In return, they asked only for permission to establish a small base on Earth to facilitate cultural exchange. Bill Harris noticed something odd during the discussions. Whenever technical questions were asked, the Vorsidians would pause briefly before answering, as if receiving instructions. He mentioned this quietly to Olivia, who began watching more closely. "I think they're connected somehow," she whispered. "Some kind of communication system." As the meeting concluded, Ambassador Nelson agreed to bring the Vorsidians' proposal back to Earth's governments. Just as the delegation prepared to leave, High Commander Zorn presented a small, crystal-like object. "A gift," he said, "to demonstrate our goodwill. This contains cultural information about our people." Ambassador Nelson accepted it with thanks. As the Earth delegation returned to their shuttle, Bill felt uneasy. Everything had gone too smoothly. 3. Days later, the governments of Earth voted to accept the Vorsidian proposal. Ambassador Nelson returned to the mothership with official documents permitting the establishment of an alien base in a remote area of Nevada. High Commander Zorn seemed pleased. "This marks the beginning of a great friendship between our peoples." As the documents were ceremonially exchanged, Zorn touched a panel on his wrist. A small light flashed. Ambassador Nelson smiled. "What was that?" "Just confirming the agreement with our ship," Zorn said smoothly. But it wasn't just a confirmation. Across Earth, power grids suddenly failed. Military bases lost communications. Satellites went dark. The crystal gift had contained a sophisticated computer virus that had spread through Earth's networks, identifying and targeting critical infrastructure. In orbit, 6 smaller Vorsidian ships deployed from the mothership, taking positions above major cities. A new message broadcast on all working devices. "People of Earth, your resources and labor now belong to the Vorsidian Empire. Resistance is futile and will result in destruction of your cities. Compliance will ensure your survival." On the mothership, armed Vorsidians entered the meeting room. High Commander Zorn's friendly demeanor vanished. "You are now prisoners," he told the shocked Earth delegation. "Your planet has joined many others in service to our empire. Your people will provide the labor we require." Ambassador Nelson stood tall despite her fear. "Our people will fight." "We'll try," Zorn agreed. "But like the 12 species before you, they will fail. We have done this many times." As the Earth delegates were taken away, Bill Harris caught Olivia's eye. He gave her the slightest nod, a promise that this was not over. On Earth, chaos spread as people realized the truth. The Vorsidians had not come as friends. They had come as conquerors. And humanity's fight for freedom had just begun. 6 months had passed since the Vorsidians revealed their true intentions. Earth had changed in ways no one could have imagined. The streets of major cities were now patrolled by floating drones that watched for any sign of resistance. Tall metal towers had been built in strategic locations, broadcasting the signal that controlled the neural compliance devices. Bill Harris wiped sweat from his forehead as he swung his pickaxe into the rock wall. The mine was hot and dusty, the air thick with minerals that made his lungs burn. Around him, 50 other men and women worked silently, their faces grim with exhaustion. "Keep working, humans," called the Vorsidian overseer named Krell. He was shorter than High Commander Zorn, but just as cruel. "Your quota increases tomorrow." Bill felt the small device at the base of his skull. The neural compliance device had been surgically attached to every human over the age of 12. If anyone disobeyed or tried to remove it, the pain was unbearable. During a water break, Bill whispered to Steve Coleman, a former construction worker who had become his friend in the mine. "Any word from outside?" Steve shook his head slightly. "Nothing new, but I heard they're moving Dr. Martinez to the main lab in Chicago." Bill nodded, careful not to show too much interest. Olivia Martinez had been forced to work in a Vorsidian laboratory studying human biology. The aliens wanted to know how to make humans more efficient workers, how to keep them alive with less food and water. As the workers filed out of the mine at the end of their 12-hour shift, Bill noticed a small piece of paper tucked into his worn boot. He waited until he was alone in the makeshift shower before unfolding it. The message was simple. Midnight. Old library basement. Bill knew what this meant. The resistance was meeting, and they wanted him there. The Vorsidians had established a curfew from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., but they couldn't watch everyone all the time. Bill slipped out of his small apartment, staying in the shadows as he made his way through the empty streets of what was once Portland, Oregon. The library had been partially destroyed during the initial takeover, but the basement remained intact. Bill tapped a specific pattern on the back door and waited. After a moment, the door opened just enough for him to slip inside. "You made it," said a woman's voice in the darkness. When she turned on a small light, Bill saw Samantha Wright, a former computer specialist who now led this cell of the Resistance. Her red hair was cut short now, and a scar ran across her left cheek. "Sorry I'm late," Bill said. "Had to dodge 2 patrols." The basement room contained about 15 people, all looking tired but determined. Some faces Bill recognized, others were new. A tall, muscular man stepped forward. "For those who don't know me, I'm Jack Owens, former Army Ranger. I've been coordinating between resistance groups along the West Coast." Jack nodded to Samantha, who opened a laptop computer. "We've made a discovery," she said. "The neural devices have a critical weakness." The room grew completely silent. "They can't tell the difference between real compliance and acting," she explained. "The devices monitor brain activity to detect disobedience, but they can't detect if you're just pretending to follow orders while planning something else." Bill leaned forward. "Are you sure about this?" A young woman sitting near Samantha nodded. "I've tested it. I'm Susan Lee. I worked with Dr. Martinez at the university before all this. We've been secretly communicating." Bill's heart raced at the mention of Olivia. "She's alive? Is she okay?" "Working under guard," Susan replied. "But she's made some important discoveries about the Vorsidians, their biology, their technology. She's managed to send us information bit by bit." Jack unfolded a rough map on the table. "We're not the only ones fighting back. There are resistance cells forming worldwide. We're starting to connect with each other." "But what can we actually do?" asked an older man at the back of the room. "They have spaceships, weapons we can't even understand." Samantha smiled for the first time. "We have something they don't expect, human ingenuity." She tapped a few keys on her laptop. "I've been working on hacking into their communication system. It's advanced but not impenetrable. Our first major act will be to broadcast a message," Jack explained, "to let people know they're not alone, that there's hope." Bill studied the determined faces around him. "What do you need from me?" "We need information from the mining operation," Jack said. "The Vorsidians are desperate for certain minerals. We need to know why, what they're using them for." The meeting continued late into the night. Plans were made, tasks assigned. Bill learned that Ambassador Nelson and 3 other members of the original delegation had been publicly executed as an example. The rest, including Olivia, were being forced to work for the aliens because of their specialized knowledge. As dawn approached, the resistance members prepared to return to their daily lives, to continue pretending to be compliant slaves while secretly working against their oppressors. Outside the library, Bill paused beside Samantha. "Do you really think we can win this? They conquered 12 other species before us." Samantha's eyes were hard with determination. "Those other species weren't human. We adapt, we survive, and now we fight." 2 weeks later, Bill was working his usual shift in the mine when all the Vorsidian communication devices suddenly emitted a high-pitched sound. The overseers clutched their ears in pain. Every screen and speaker within range suddenly activated. Jack's voice, disguised but powerful, filled the air. "People of Earth, this is the human resistance. We are not defeated. The Vorsidians are not gods. They have weaknesses, and we will find them all. Stay strong, act compliant, but know this. We are organizing, we are preparing, and we will take back our planet. You are not alone." The message played for only 30 seconds before the Vorsidians cut it off. The overseers recovered quickly, their faces twisted with rage. They ordered everyone back to work, increasing the pain level on the neural devices as punishment. But Bill saw something new on the faces of his fellow workers. Hope. Small smiles were quickly hidden. Eyes met briefly with new resolve. That night, 3 more workers approached Bill secretly, wanting to join the resistance. In her laboratory in Chicago, Olivia Martinez heard the broadcast too. As the Vorsidian scientists rushed to respond to the security breach, she quietly slipped a small sample of alien tissue into her pocket. She had discovered something important about Vorsidian biology, something that might give humans an advantage. The subjugation continued, but something had changed. The spark of resistance was growing into a flame. Across the planet, humans began to organize, to communicate, to prepare. The Vorsidians had conquered many worlds before Earth, but they had never encountered a species like humans before, and they had no idea what was coming. 1 year had passed since the Vorsidians arrived on Earth. Winter snow blanketed the ruins of Chicago, now the main base for the alien invaders. Inside a heavily guarded laboratory complex, Dr. Olivia Martinez carefully studied cell samples under a microscope. 2 Vorsidian scientists worked nearby, occasionally glancing in her direction. Olivia had learned to keep her face blank, hiding her thoughts. The neural device at the base of her skull remained silent as long as she appeared to be working diligently on her assigned tasks. What the Vorsidians didn't know was that she was conducting secret research of her own. When the aliens left for their midday meal, Olivia quickly accessed a hidden file on her computer. She had been studying Vorsidian brain tissue for months, making a remarkable discovery. The aliens had a hive-like mind structure. Lower-ranking Vorsidians were completely dependent on instructions from their leaders. Without clear direction, they became confused and indecisive. She typed a quick message to the resistance. Confirm hive mind structure. Leaders control followers, disrupt the leaders, and the rest will falter. Olivia sent the message through a hidden channel Samantha had created in the Vorsidian communication system. Then she quickly erased all traces of her activity and returned to her assigned work before the alien scientists returned. Hundreds of miles away, in the mine where Bill Harris worked, a new Vorsidian overseer had arrived. This one seemed less harsh than Krell, almost curious about the humans. Bill had noticed the alien watching him with interest, especially when Bill solved problems with the mining equipment. "Human," the overseer called one day. "You, come here." Bill approached cautiously. "Yes, overseer?" "Your name?" "Bill Harris." The Vorsidian tilted his head. "I am Nex. You fix things well. Tomorrow you will be mining supervisor. Make humans work better." Bill was surprised but careful not to show it. A promotion meant access to more areas of the mining complex, more information about what the Vorsidians were doing with the minerals they extracted. "Thank you, Overseer Nex," Bill said with just the right amount of gratitude and submission in his voice. "I will serve well." That night, Bill attended another secret resistance meeting. The basement was more crowded now, with nearly 30 people packed into the small space. Jack Owens looked more gaunt than before, but his eyes burned with the same intensity. "We have news from Chicago," Jack announced. "Dr. Martinez has confirmed that the Vorsidians have a hive mind structure. The lower ranks can't function well without direction from their leaders," Samantha added. "And we've learned something else too, Peter. Show them." Peter Collins, a former sound engineer who had joined the resistance 3 months ago, stepped forward. He held a small device that looked like a modified speaker. "I've been studying the Vorsidians who patrol near my sector," Peter explained. "They react strangely to certain sound frequencies. It seems to cause them physical discomfort, maybe even pain." He adjusted a dial on the device, and it emitted a high-pitched tone that was barely audible to human ears. "This frequency is just at the edge of human hearing, but it affects the Vorsidians strongly. I think their hearing range is different from ours." "A weapon?" someone asked. Peter nodded. "Potentially. I'm working on amplifying it, making it portable." Bill shared his news about being promoted to mining supervisor. "I'll have access to their shipping records, maybe even transportation schedules." "Perfect," Jack said. "We need to know where they're taking the minerals and why they're so important." Samantha had been unusually quiet during the meeting. When the others finished reporting, she opened her laptop. "I've managed to infiltrate deeper into their computer systems," she said. "What I found is surprising. Their technology is incredibly Advanced in some ways, but their computer security is lacking. They don't seem to understand the concept of hacking. Why would they? Bill asked. If they all share a hive mind, why would any of them try to break into their own systems? Samantha smiled. Exactly. Their entire empire runs on a centralized computer system that was never designed to defend against someone like me. Hope spread through the room. For the first time, they could see potential weaknesses in their seemingly invincible oppressors. A week later, Jack led a small team on the Resistance's most daring mission yet. Using information from Bill about patrol patterns and Peter's sound device to distract guards, they managed to capture a lone Vorsidian soldier who had strayed from his unit. They brought the alien to an abandoned underground parking garage. The Vorsidian looked terrified, its large eyes darting around the room. "Can you understand us?" Jack asked. The alien nodded quickly. "Yes, please no hurt. I follow orders only." "What's your name?" Bill asked. "Mex. I low rank. Not important." Jack leaned forward. "Mex, we're not going to hurt you. We want information." The questioning lasted hours. They learned that the Vorsidians had indeed conquered 12 other species, building an empire spanning multiple star systems. But none of those species had resisted as effectively as humans. Other species. Different. Mex explained haltingly. They think group only. Humans think alone but also together. Very strange to us. Very frightening. Frightening? Bill asked, surprised. "You're afraid of us?" Mex's thin fingers twitched nervously. "Leaders afraid. Humans adapt quick. Learn quick. Fight in new ways, not like others." Samantha exchanged meaningful glances with Jack. "That's why they implemented the neural control so quickly," she said. "They fear our independence, our creativity." After learning everything they could, they faced a difficult decision about what to do with Mex. Killing a prisoner went against everything they believed in, but releasing him would reveal their existence. Bill had an unexpected suggestion. "What if we converted him? Mex, would you help us if we protected you from the other Vorsidians?" The alien looked stunned. "Help? Humans? Against own kind?" "You said it yourself. You just follow orders," Bill said. "What if you followed our orders instead? We would never treat you like your leaders do." After consideration, Mex agreed hesitantly. It was a risk, but having a Vorsidian ally could provide invaluable information. As spring arrived, the resistance grew stronger. Peter developed portable versions of his sonic weapon. Samantha penetrated deeper into the Vorsidian computer network. Bill gathered intelligence from the mining operation. And in Chicago, Olivia continued her research, discovering more about Vorsidian biology and the technology behind the neural compliance devices. Through their growing network, they learned resistance cells were forming worldwide. Humans were sharing information, resources, and hope. The Vorsidians had made a critical error. They had conquered many species, but humans were different. Humans didn't just submit and adapt to captivity. Humans studied their captors, identified weaknesses, and prepared to fight back. The time for a coordinated global counterstrike was approaching. Humanity was ready to take control. The night was moonless and perfect for their mission. Jack Owens checked his watch as his team moved silently through the forest surrounding the Vorsidian communication tower. 2 years of planning had led to this moment. Tonight, resistance. Cells across the globe would launch a coordinated attack against their alien oppressors. "Everyone in position?" Jack whispered into his radio. "Team Alpha ready," came Bill's response. "Team Beta ready," Samantha confirmed. Jack took a deep breath. "Remember, we stick to the plan. Peter's sonic weapons first, then we take the tower." Over the past 18 months, the resistance had grown into a global network. Using Samantha's encrypted communication system that piggybacked on the Vorsidians' own network, they had coordinated with groups on every continent. Dr. Martinez had continued her secret research, developing a complete understanding of Vorsidian biology. Peter had perfected his sonic weapons. Bill, now a trusted supervisor in the mining operation, had been secretly recruiting workers and mapping Vorsidian supply routes. Mex, their Vorsidian ally, had provided critical information about the aliens' command structure and security protocols. Most importantly, he had confirmed that attacking the central communication towers would disrupt the hive mind connection that kept lower-ranking Vorsidians under control. Jack gave the signal, and the attack began. Peter activated the sonic emitters, which sent waves of debilitating sound toward the tower. The Vorsidian guards immediately doubled over in pain, unable to respond as the human fighters rushed forward. Inside the tower, Samantha quickly connected her laptop to the main console. "I'm in," she announced after a few minutes of rapid typing. "Uploading the virus now." The virus was Samantha's masterpiece designed to infiltrate the Vorsidian central computer system and temporarily disable the neural compliance network that controlled humans worldwide. If it worked, millions of people would be freed from pain-enforced obedience for the few crucial hours they needed. Similar attacks were happening at communication towers across the planet. In Chicago, a special team, led by Olivia, was targeting the main research facility. In orbit, a small group of resistance fighters who had been secretly trained as pilots prepared to board a barely guarded Vorsidian shuttle. Bill Harris led his team through the mining complex. Most of the workers had been secretly brought into the resistance over the past year. When the neural compliance system suddenly went offline, they immediately grabbed tools as weapons and turned on their surprised Vorsidian overseers. "Secure the entrance," Bill ordered. "We need to hold this position until the second phase begins." Across the world, confused Vorsidians found themselves under attack as formerly compliant humans suddenly rose up against them. The aliens tried to call for reinforcements, but their communication system was in chaos. In the Chicago laboratory, Olivia led a team directly to the biological research section. While resistance fighters secured the area, she quickly located what she had been secretly developing for months: a bioengineered virus that affected only Vorsidians, targeting specifically the brain functions that enabled higher-ranking aliens to communicate with their subordinates. "We have 5 minutes before their backup systems come online," she told her team. "Help me load these into the distribution system." The plan was daring but simple. Use the Vorsidians' own air purification system to spread the virus throughout their main base. It wouldn't kill them, but it would disrupt their ability to coordinate a counterattack. In orbit, the human pilots successfully boarded the Vorsidian shuttle. None of them had ever flown an alien spacecraft before, but they had studied stolen manuals and received training from mechs. Their mission was to disable the weapon systems on the Vorsidian mothership before it could target Earth cities. "This is orbital team to ground control," the lead pilot radioed. "We're in. Beginning approach to target." Jack's team secured the communication tower and set up a defensive perimeter. "Status report?" he asked into his radio. "The neural network is down," Samantha confirmed. "People are free worldwide. The virus is spreading through their system." "Chicago team successful," came Olivia's voice. "Biological agent deployed. Vorsidian commanders showing signs of confusion." "Mining complex secured," Bill reported. "We've captured 3 ships and their weapon cache." Jack allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. After 2 years of planning, humanity was finally fighting back effectively. But he knew this was just the beginning. The Vorsidians still had superior technology and numbers. High Commander Zorn was in the central command room when the attacks began. Unlike his subordinates, he remained calm as reports of uprisings flooded in. "Launch orbital strikes on these coordinates," he ordered, pointing to major resistance strongholds on a map. But his subordinates struggled to follow his orders. The bioengineered virus was affecting their ability to understand commands, and Samantha's computer virus had crippled their targeting systems. Then the most unexpected news arrived. Humans had boarded the mothership and were disabling its weapons. Zorn roared in frustration. How could these primitives be so coordinated, so effective? The battle raged for hours. In some areas, Vorsidians managed to regroup and push back the human fighters. But for every setback, the resistance adapted quickly, changing tactics and finding new ways to exploit the aliens' weaknesses. By dawn, humans had captured Vorsidian weapons, vehicles, and even several smaller ships. The neural compliance system remained offline, allowing millions more to join the fight. Most importantly, they had seized control of several communication towers, allowing Samantha to broadcast messages worldwide, coordinating the global resistance. Bill led a group of former miners, now armed with Vorsidian weapons, to reinforce Jack's position at the main tower. They arrived just as a counterattack began. "They're trying to retake the tower," Jack shouted over the sound of weapon fire. "We can't let them reconnect their network." The fighting was intense. Several resistance fighters fell, but the humans held their ground. The sonic weapons proved invaluable, disorienting the Vorsidian soldiers long enough for humans to target them effectively. As the sun rose higher, news came from around the world. Humans were winning. Not everywhere, not completely, but enough to matter. They had captured key facilities, disabled major weapons, and most importantly, revealed that the seemingly invincible conquerors could be defeated. In Chicago, resistance fighters breached the main Vorsidian headquarters. They fought their way to the command center, where they found High Commander Zorn trying desperately to organize a counterattack. "Surrender," demanded the resistance leader, pointing a captured Vorsidian weapon. At Zorn, the alien commander stared in disbelief. "Impossible, you are just humans." "Yes," the resistance leader replied. "That's exactly what we are." As the day ended, a message spread through the resistance network. Ambassador Karen Nelson, long believed dead, had survived. She had been hiding, with a resistance cell in Europe, waiting for this moment. Now she was ready to deliver an ultimatum to the remaining Vorsidian leaders. Ambassador Karen Nelson stood tall before the view screen, her gray hair pulled back neatly, her eyes reflecting the determination that had kept her alive during 2 years of hiding and planning. Behind her stood Jack Owens, Bill Harris, Olivia Martinez, Samantha Wright, and Peter Collins, the core leadership of the human resistance that had turned the tide against the Vorsidian invaders. On the screen, High Commander Zorn and 3 other Vorsidian leaders watched with what passed for anger on their alien faces. "Humans," Zorn began, "your rebellion is—" "This is not a rebellion," Karen interrupted firmly. "This is a liberation. And you will listen to our terms." The Vorsidian leaders looked shocked at her boldness. They had never expected this level of resistance from a species they considered inferior. "You have 2 choices," Karen continued. "Leave Earth forever or face complete destruction. We have disabled your neural control system. We have captured your weapons. We have infected your command structure with a virus that disrupts your hive mind. And we have accessed your database of technology and star charts." Olivia stepped forward. "We now understand your biology better than you understand ours. The virus we created can be modified to be lethal rather than merely disruptive. That is not our preference, but it is an option." For the first time since their arrival, the Vorsidians looked uncertain. They had conquered 12 other species, but none had fought back like this. None had turned the invaders' own technology against them so effectively. Outside the command center, the battle for Earth continued. Most humans were still fighting to secure their freedom, but the tide had decisively turned. With the neural compliance devices disabled permanently thanks to Samantha's work, millions of people had joined the resistance. Armed with captured Vorsidian weapons and protected by shields made from alien technology, they were retaking their planet city by city. In space, the situation was even more dire for the alien invaders. The human pilots who had captured the shuttle had managed to disable the weapons on the Vorsidian mothership. Now they were teaching other humans how to fly the smaller alien vessels, creating Earth's first true space fleet. Zorn spoke again, his voice less commanding than before. "You cannot hope to defeat us completely. We have ruled our empire for thousands of years. We have technology you cannot understand." Bill Harris laughed softly. "We've been studying your technology for 2 years. We're quick learners." To prove his point, Samantha tapped a few commands on her tablet. Immediately, the lights in the Vorsidian command center flickered, then stabilized. The aliens looked around in alarm. "That was just a demonstration," Samantha explained. "I now control your power systems. Next would be life support." Zorn's large eyes narrowed. "What do you want?" "I told you already," Karen replied. "Leave. Take your remaining ships and go back to your empire. Tell them Earth is not to be approached again." "And if we refuse?" Jack stepped forward. "Then we will destroy every Vorsidian on this planet and use your ships to find the worlds you've enslaved. We will free them too." The aliens conferred among themselves in their own language. Finally, Zorn faced the screen again. "We will leave your world. But this is not over. The Vorsidian Empire does not forgive." Karen nodded. "Neither do we." The withdrawal of the Vorsidian forces began immediately. Under heavy guard by resistance, fighters armed with alien weapons, the remaining invaders boarded their ships. As a precaution, Peter's sonic devices were installed near every boarding area, ready to incapacitate any Vorsidian who tried to cause trouble. From his position overseeing the departure at what had once been the Chicago base, Bill watched with mixed emotions. "I can't believe we actually won," he said to Olivia, who stood beside him. "Not without cost," she replied softly, thinking of the millions who had died during the invasion and occupation. "But yes, we did what 12 other species couldn't do." "Because we're stubborn," Bill suggested. "Because we're individuals who can work together," Olivia corrected. "That's what Mex told us. The Vorsidians couldn't understand how we could think independently, but still cooperate." Speaking of Mex, the friendly Vorsidian had chosen to stay behind, one of a small number who had sided with humans during the uprising. He now worked with Samantha, helping to translate the alien technology database that humans had captured. As the last Vorsidian ship prepared to leave orbit, Karen addressed the people of Earth via a global broadcast. "Today marks the beginning of a new era for humanity," she said. "We have faced the greatest threat in our history and emerged victorious. But our work is just beginning. We now possess technology far beyond our previous capabilities. We must use it wisely." 3 months later, the first human-controlled interstellar mission was ready to launch. Using captured Vorsidian vessels and the knowledge gained from their database, Earth had prepared a liberation force. Their destination, the nearest world enslaved by the Vorsidian Empire. Bill Harris, now a trained pilot of alien craft, sat in the command chair of the largest ship. They had named it Freedom. "All systems ready," reported Samantha from the communications station. Her expertise with Vorsidian technology had made her invaluable to the mission. "Medical bay prepared," Olivia confirmed. She had developed treatments for the neural compliance devices used on other enslaved species. "Defense systems operational," Jack announced from his position at weapons control. They hoped for peaceful contact, but were prepared for resistance from any Vorsidian forces they encountered. Karen entered the bridge, now the official representative of Earth's new interstellar council. "Are we ready to make history?" Bill nodded. "Course set for the Proxima system. According to the Vorsidian records, the local species has been enslaved for over a century." "Not for much longer," Karen said with determination. As the ships lifted from Earth, millions watched from below. They were no longer just inhabitants of a single planet. Humanity had claimed its place among the stars, not as conquerors like the Vorsidians, but as liberators. The Vorsidians had tried to enslave humanity. Instead, humans had taken control, not just of their own destiny, but potentially of the fate of an entire sector of the galaxy. The aliens had seen humans as simple, primitive creatures fit only for labor. They had learned too late that humanity's greatest strength was not in technology or numbers, but in the unique combination of individual thinking and collective action. The Freedom jumped to faster-than-light travel. Bill looked at the stars streaking past on the view screen. The Vorsidians had unwittingly given humanity the universe, and humans would use that gift to ensure no species would suffer under alien control again.